Hello, my beautiful podcast community. So, excuse the mess in the background. I am coming to you straight after my self love sanctuary. Just going to turn this light off. Yeah, that's better. Wow. Okay, great. So I am actually really excited because I haven't really done a podcast in a while. I know I have been on a little bit of a podcast hiatus. And so this is really exciting to be back and to be speaking again and being able to deliver some really juicy content today. And I want to be really transparent and just let you know the reasons behind why I potentially haven't been showing up on my podcast. And so I am a really big believer in only speaking when I have something important, valuable, and I guess things that are going to really support you and are really going to land for you and help you with it, whatever you are trying to navigate in your life right now. So I think probably for the last 2 months, I've felt a little bit uninspired, and that is because I have been just needing to pull back a little bit and just really focus on reconnecting to myself. So I've kind of been in my own little cave, which is usually something that happens over winter for most people. But for me, it sort of happened from sort of March until maybe last week. And so it's come at a really good time because the energies that we are currently receiving are really powerful right now. And I think because I have been able to focus on grounding and really understanding what it is that I want to speak on and want to create. Now I am able to receive these energies and they are actually really inspiring and really motivating. And I was up until 2 a.m. last night, could not sleep. And I just had so many ideas and I feel like I am back in my flow, baby. So get ready for some really juicy downloads to come your way. And so I really want to talk about something that I am really passionate about, but also something that's really personal and has really allowed me to heal and grow and transform as a human being and as a spiritual being. And that is self awareness. So, self awareness is really your strength. It's really something that the more you start to become aware of yourself and the more you start to understand yourself, the stronger and more resilient you'll become. And when you are unaware of perhaps it's your core wounding, your limiting beliefs that are buried deep down within your subconscious. Perhaps it is creating repetitive patterns and behaviors. And what this does, it almost makes you feel like you are completely powerless and as if you are not in the driver's seat of your body, of yourself, and consequently your life as well, because it's almost like you are acting on autopilot. And this was me. I did this for a large portion of my adult life, and I share this in depth in my life story, which you can find on my website at www.imasoulqueen.com. But because I was totally unaware and unconscious what my core wounding was, what were these limiting beliefs that I was programmed into, and consequently behaving and acting as those limiting beliefs and as those core wounds. So for me, I suffered from cancer as a young girl, and a coping mechanism that I put in place, not in order to not feel the pain and the trauma of that experience, was to disconnect from feeling pain, disconnect from my body. And it's almost like I put a block on that part of my life so that I wouldn't have to remember what that felt like or what that experience was like, because it was too much to handle at the time. So I kind of just pushed it aside and forgot about it. And that created some issues for me later on in my adult life, because I was so disconnected from my body and consequently my emotions. And I struggled to really express my emotions and articulate and be able to communicate with other people when it came to my emotions. And so I just continued to suppress them, avoid them, push them as far deep down within myself, within that, dark sort of shadow side of ourselves, and just hope that they would never come up or I would never have to process them. But it, caused issues within my friendships, within my family dynamics, and really, as I got into my later adult life and I started dating, it really started to come up then, because it was almost like I was trying to feel validated and seen and worthy, but I was seeking it out in other people. And it created some really destructive behaviors, which I am not proud of, but I understand why I made those choices, why perhaps I didn't value myself, I didn't love myself, because I was acting or living based on these wounds and these belief systems that I had no idea were running in the background. And it was almost as if I had blinkers on and I could only see through the lens of this trauma, this wounding, these beliefs, and this was how I was living my life. I was living my life totally wanting to escape any form of feeling, any form of pain, confrontation, communication, and any ownership and accountability. I was very irresponsible and avoidant. So when I had to deal with something, I would just avoid it. And it really got to the point where I couldn't avoid things anymore. And I started to hit my rock bottom in 2019. And from there, everything changed. But when we have these blinkers on, it means that you only have one direction of sight available to you. You can't really see any other options or any other solution or perspective. So it's almost like you are looking through the lens of perhaps maybe self-doubt, fear, lack. For me, it was a very big lens of low self-worth and emotional negligence, where I just wouldn't deal with anything. And there are a lot of times in my life where, because I wasn't dealing with anything and I was avoiding it, it would get to a point where it would just bubble over, and I would have random emotional outbursts, or I was triggered by the smallest little things. I am an extremely, well, I am, but perhaps I was an extremely sensitive person. I used to be so sensitive, people had to almost walk on eggshells around me. And it was because of, what was happening in my internal world. Perhaps in the external world, I was portraying this version of me that looked like it didn't really bother her, but my internal world was an absolute cyclone of chaos, trying to just keep her head above water and just to avoid from drowning. And sometimes I did drown. Sometimes I did drown myself in tears and emotions and frustrations and anger and these feelings which I didn't really understand how to process. I didn't understand how to self-soothe. I didn't understand anything really. And this is the key, because when we start to gain this awareness around ourselves, around why we behave or why we do the things or why we are so reactive to certain situations, to certain triggers that cause us to connect with that emotional core wounding, or perhaps that belief system that you have in place from, maybe it's years ago that this belief was created, like it was when I was a child. But if we don't process these things, then they will still continue to show up. And so self-awareness allows us to really take a deep look at these issues and look at them with the lens of compassion and love and acceptance, and really embrace them, because they are a part of you. They are you. And a lot of the time we create this separation between this version of who I was, and we kind of shut it off because perhaps we are ashamed, or we feel guilt or embarrassment from it, and we tend to separate it completely. And it's really important to reduce that separation and start to merge that version of you with your current self, and start to understand yourself. And this is where your self-awareness and your self-discovery process will take you on this journey of really becoming one with yourself. And I talked before about seeing the world, just seeing with blinkers on when you don't have self-awareness. So it's almost like you have these like grey, foggy glasses that you're wearing where you can only see, sort of your own, maybe you can't see. Maybe that is the problem. Your glasses are so fogged up that you actually can't see clearly. And so imagine taking these glasses off and you have got crystal clear visibility. You can see yourself and you can see all of yourself. Now, it is probably going to be something that you have to initially learn to adjust to, but with practice, it will get easier. It's like when you first learn to ride a bike. Now, it might have felt scary or you might have felt resistant to it because it was something that you didn't know how to do. And you would probably have these thoughts created in fear about what if I fall off, what if I hurt myself, what if this happens or what if that happens. And this is just your mind's way of going into the process of fight or flight, where it is trying to protect you. And in the case of self-awareness, potentially your grey glasses, your grey foggy glasses, may have been protecting you at a certain time in your life. But now it is time to create a new protection, and your new protection, your new coat of armor, and your new glasses to put on, or your new protection is to take off these glasses, because when you have crystal clear visibility and total understanding, total acceptance and compassion for who you are deep down to your very core, to your very DNA, all your cells, when you know this person and you know your triggers and you know some of these default programs that have been created and you've been doing for years and years and years, when you know this, you start to become aware and you start to observe yourself. And this is where you can start to have a choice to be able to create change. Because when you step into the vision of observing yourself, you'll start to catch yourself and call yourself out on certain behaviors and be like, and you'll question, is this something that I want to continue doing? Is this something that is serving me? Is this even relevant? Do I even need this? And why did I need this? Understanding why you needed that at a certain time and being able to transmute that and let that go and release that physical thing that you've been carrying around with you. Because this is the thing, we carry around our emotions and our beliefs almost like a heaviness that drags us down into this lower vibration. And once we're able to release it and let it go, we're able to free up more space, more energy. We feel lighter, we feel less burdened, we feel more free, and we feel more courage and bravery. It's almost like, when you're hiking up a hill with a really heavy backpack and you're carrying this like monstrosity of weight on your shoulders, how tired and lethargic and lack of energy you might feel because you're having to carry this weight with you. And when you take that off and let that go, it's almost like this feeling of relief and feeling of just being free and being able to move and really be functioning at your full potential. And so this is the same scenario with you becoming aware of yourself and really connecting and understanding yourself on a deep, deep soul level. So we talked a little bit before about riding a bike and the things that maybe made you afraid of it. And I am going to put a warning here and say that, you know, gaining self awareness is a journey. It does take bravery and courage to really look at these aspects of yourselves which might cause you pain. And I want to let you know that it's okay, and really let yourself know that it is okay to feel pain. And this is something that I had to learn, and have learned throughout my last 4 years of healing, is that it's okay to feel. And in that process of feeling, just letting yourself know that you are safe, that you are loved, and that the emotion has permission to be in your body. If you are like me and you have been avoidant of your emotions, or you've suppressed them, or you have disconnected from them for the purpose of protecting yourself and keeping yourself safe. And this will apply to emotional traumas, and experiences where you've had abuse. And I say this from a spiritual aspect. And if you need support, if you need additional counseling or therapy, please make sure that you talk to a professional. This is my story of my own personal experience. And when we start to work on our self discovery, we start to go deep into our past, it is going to bring up things that may feel uncomfortable, that may feel overwhelming, that you may be scared of. Just like when you were a little child and you were first getting onto the bike, and maybe you were taking the training wheels off, and you were thinking in your head, someone got me. Am I going to be okay? But after a few goes and a few trials with your parents holding the seat and pushing you along, you know that you're safe in that moment. And all of a sudden they let go, and you are riding your bike by yourself. And you continue to obviously get better with practice until you get to this point where you can do it on your own, and you are so confident and comfortable in riding your bike, and you are just enjoying it and feeling how much fun it is to have that wind flowing in your hair and just feeling carefree and loving life. this is the feeling that you will get when you work through this process of self discovery and really owning these parts of you that perhaps have been invisible or have been suppressed or hidden for various reasons that are personal and unique to you. So the journey of self discovery is really a beautiful one. And we're coming back to the bike. I want you to think about the name of your bike. Did you ever give your bike a name? I had a pink dragster bike, and I can't remember what I called it, maybe like Drag Demon or something. I thought I was so like super cool and just really, I don't know, just really fiery. So it gave me like this coat of armor that I used to ride around and think I was like eating a bit. So let's imagine now that bike, this new bike that you're learning to ride is called Self Awareness Sally. And Self Awareness Sally, she's going to take you on a journey that is going to make you feel confident, accepted, loved, appreciated, and completely free of any of your emotional burdens from the past that you were still carrying, any subconscious beliefs that you may not be aware of will come up, and you will be able to work through these. Any destructive thought patterns or overcritical self-talk that you sort of view yourself and how you talk to yourself, all of these things will start to transmute and start to dilute. And self-awareness Sally, she doesn't react from a place of fear or neglect from avoiding her emotions. She doesn't react from unresolved traumas or emotions. She is this calm, centered, resilient version, and she is totally visible. She is heard, she is seen, she is accountable for herself. She understands herself. And she embraces herself. She embraces all of these aspects of herself, even the ones that are hidden deep down in the darkness of your soul or your body or wherever you are hiding them. She embraces her shadows from the past, perhaps choices and behaviors or actions that she made that she's not proud of. But she embraces these and accepts these with love because she knows that she was just acting out of a place of survival, out of a place of hurt and pain and whatever she was not feeling or not processing back then. She knows who she is on a deep soul level at the very core of her inner self. And this makes her strong. This makes her so resilient, almost like she is unaffected and she is really easygoing when it comes to perhaps things that might have previously triggered her. Perhaps, the oversensitive version of you become less sensitive. And she knows that she is not perfect and she embraces this. She used to be a perfectionist and she understands that still sometimes there are going to be certain triggers where she's going to fall into past behaviors or past programs or patterns But she understands that she has the choice to be able to change this and make a different choice, create a different reaction, create change and transformation. And she knows that she has the power within her. No one else can make her feel small, invisible, or feel like they are dimming her light or standing in her light. She knows that her power comes from her owning, understanding, and discovering who she really is. And so I really want you to connect to self awareness, Sally, and really start to think about what is my self awareness, Sally. Now, what I described to you is my version of self awareness, Sally. And so your version might be completely and totally different, but use this as a starting point to see what your self awareness, Sally, looks like, what she stands for, what does she believe, and what is the journey that she's going to take you on. And I really hope that this little download of insight and information has really allowed you to gain some clarity, gain some perspective, and it was such a pleasure to be live and to be speaking to you. So I hope that you resonate with today's episode. And as always, if you have any questions, any thing that you want to dive deeper on, or if you want to find out how to work with me and how you can get support on your self-awareness journey, then please reach out to me on my socials or through my email, which is hello@imasoulqueen.com. Sending you so much love, and I hope that you have a fantastic week, and I hope to see you back here next week.